Hi and welcome to spring break. I know this is supposed to be time off, but I wanted to go ahead and create a video for week 3 just in case anyone wants to work over spring break. I want to give you the information that you need. Do not feel like you need to work over spring break. You have time later on. It's just I want to, for those of you that are wanting to work, to be prepared. So this is the tentative schedule in the syllabus, and several of you have emailed me and I have mentioned this. And I mentioned it in my last email back to everyone. So in the tentative schedule, there is a little statement here that talks about work for that week, all being due on Sunday evening at 11:59 p.m., except for if there is a discussion board due. If a discussion board is due, you have to submit your initial post by Tuesday of the week that it's assigned by 11:59 p.m. And then all your peer responses are due by that Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So that's the only change there is. But other than that, the week that it is assigned, everything's due the Sunday at the end of that week. So I pretty much go from Monday to Sunday on the weeks. So we are done with weeks 1 and 2. So we have gotten through modules 1 through 4. This week, like I said, is spring break. But next week, there's going to be a pretty big assignment due, and that is a literature review. You will go over chapter 18, 5, and 6, and I did them out of order because they seem to go well together. So make sure that you're not just going along in the book through chapter by chapter, but you're making sure that you see which chapters I am requesting that you read. So your quiz will be over those 3 chapters. That's due at the end of the week, Sunday by 11:59 p.m. And then also discussion board number 2 is due at that time as well. That discussion board is about your literature review and kind of reflecting back on the whole process that you went through. So make sure you do your initial post by Tuesday. And if you're not completely done with your literature review, at least you can talk about the collection of the articles and looking at those types of things. You may not be done with the writing of it yet, but you should at least have your resources. So that's the initial post is Tuesday, and your peer responses are by that Sunday. Quiz is by the Sunday. Then the literature review is also due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. This is a first draft. You have to have at least 5 pages with 7 to 10 references. So I will be trying to give you some pretty significant feedback on this. I would expect this to be one of your lower grades out of the big assignments, just because it is kind of a difficult situation. But I want to talk to you about some things that I'm going to be looking for, so hopefully that'll help you out a lot. So that's going to be beginning the week of March 26th, the week after spring break. So let's go ahead and look at our Blackboard. So week 3, we're going to do Module 5 and Module 6. There are videos in here, and they're good videos. Dr. Farrell from NSU did create them, and he did a good job, so I'm just using those. So please be sure that you use those videos. They're very helpful and will alleviate a lot of the mistakes that are made within a literature review that I've seen over the semesters in students. I've noticed that a lot of my students don't watch these videos, and you can really tell in their work. So the Chapter 6 one is especially important, and I'm just going to kind of go over the slideshow of that with you. And the first part of it, it's structure, content, grammar, those types of things, mechanics. Make sure you read through those, but I am not going to go over them right now. I want to get to the area that has caused a lot of confusion for students, and that's beginning in Chapter 6. So Chapter 6, crediting sources. Sorry. Let's just go with that. So we're looking at plagiarism. Remember, I do send this through Safe Assign, and you will get a report so you can see how much of your work is plagiarized. I created a video to show you how that's done, like the back side of things, and I sent it out before our 8-week semester started. So make sure that you are not plagiarizing anything that you get from someone else. You need to give them credit for, even from yourself. So if you have work that that's been published or that you've already submitted somewhere, please do not use that again, because it will show up in the plagiarism checker. In-text citation, That's when you give credit within your text, within the body of the literature review. And we're going to look at how to do that. Oops, sorry. Okay, so direct quotes must be accurate, so make sure you copy them directly. The quotation must follow the wording, spelling, and interior punctuation of the original source, even if the source is incorrect. So don't try to correct anything. And this is the way it will look in an in-text citation. So you'll have the author, parenthesis, year, parenthesis, stated, and then you'll do the quotation marks. At the end, you will put a page number. You must put a page number for all direct quotes. For summaries and things like that, you do not have to put a page number. And then notice the period goes on the outside of the parentheses. This, if there's a paragraph, you would do that. So there's different ways that you can do it based on what it is. So make sure that the year comes directly after the author's last name. You do not need to put the author's first name, just their last name. Another example of in-text citation can be found here. This is a summary, and this is called a parenthetical because it's in the parentheses. So you can either do it this way. You can say the author's name within your sentence with the year directly following, or you can state your sentence, your summary, your paraphrase, and then at the end you will put the author's last name, comma, year, parentheses, period. So all those little details are important for you to follow. This is an example of basic citation styles with in-text citations. So if it's just work by one author, you just put their name and 2007. Work by two authors. This is the way it looks if you do it inside your text. In your text, you will use the author's last name and the word and. Okay. If you do parenthetical, notice that you don't use the word and, but you use an ampersand. That is important. That's often missed by a lot of students. If you have work by three authors, the original time that you use the author's work, you have to put all three authors' name plus a year. After that, you will use et al. And notice it's et, no period, space, al, period. And then you'll have your year. Also, let's see if we can, oops, move my picture here. In a parenthetical, you would do the author's last name et al. 2005, the year. Okay. Here are groups that you can look at those and see how those are done as well. If the first time, if you're using a group that has an acronym for its name, spell out the group's name and then give us the acronym and the year. And then every time after that, you can just use your acronym. You don't have to write out the whole name. Parenthetical, your first time, you would put it in the brackets. And everything after that, you would use the acronym again. If there's no abbreviations, just write out the name as it is. So, in-text citations with quotations, if it is a short enough quote, then you will put the author's name. You can do it in parentheses, you can do a parenthetical, or you can do it within the sentence itself. Block quotations are for longer quotations, and it's typically 40 words or more. So if it is a long quote that you are using and it's 40 words or more, you will follow this format. Indent from the left margin, double space quotation, make an additional indent the new paragraph line only if there is a new paragraph in the quotation. So right here. So if you have multiple paragraphs, you'll indent the second one. If you notice on this, you put the period and then you put the parenthetical citation. So it's a little bit different if you use a long quote. This ellipsis is showing that you left part of the quotation out. So if you don't need all of it, then you can shorten the quotation by using the ellipsis. Okay, so this is another thing that students often miss. It's when you are citing sources, the same source within the same paragraph. So many students put the year, the author, the year, the author, the year, over and over and over in the paragraph. You do not have to do that. Once you put the author and the year, as long as you're using the same resource, the next time that you use it within the same paragraph, you just put the author's last name and no year. We are going to make the assumption as we're reading this paragraph that if you say this author, it's the same resource, the same publication that was used initially. So this is kind of same thing. Talking about the same thing. So multiple authors. Notice that the first time they use all three authors' name with the word "and" because it's in text. The next time they did that at all, instead of typing out all three names, but they still did not include the year. So kind of look at this the same way. This is the correct version. So they did the parenthetical in the parentheses, and they used the ampersand, not the word "and." And the next time they use it at all within the parentheses. So multiple citations within the same parentheses there. So the point of this literature review is really to synthesize the information that you find. So sometimes there will be multiple resources that are stating the same thing or that you've synthesized together. So you will have to use several studies within your citation. So with the parenthetical citation, if you're using multiple authors, you will put them in alphabetical order by the author's last name. So this is Derryberry, and then Gogol, and then Rothbard. So notice there's an alphabetical order. They're separated by a semicolon. Okay. And notice that they use the ampersand and they include the years. So if you happen to use a secondary source, which you don't want to do very often, this is the way you would cite it. They say that if possible, to get your hand on actually the primary source. So this is talking about if you read an article and the article is citing someone else. So for example, Lacey and Walter's study as cited in Booth. So Booth et al. Had cited this study here. So if you can find the primary source, if you can go back and find the Lacey and Walter study, do that and just use it as a primary source. If you cannot, you can do a citation like this, but do not do this very often at all. And then you would cite the Booth article that you found. You would not cite Lacey and Walter's. Okay, so the last page of your literature review will be for references. Make sure they're double spaced, they have a hanging indent. You're going to use peer-reviewed, either journal articles or books. We're not going to use websites, things like that. You need to have the author, year, publication, title, and publishing date. Those are minimum. The references will be listed in alphabetical order. So you can see that, just alphabetical orders on that information. The references will be a separate page. So if your last page of your literature review only takes up, a third of the page, leave the rest of the 2/3 of the page blank and start your references on the next page. The citations that appear in the text should appear in the references page. So there's some that that you would use if you actually reference them or you use them but you didn't put them in the text. This is not the case in this situation. You need to only include those that you can go back and find an in-text citation or parenthetical citation. So only use those. And do not forget to include them in the reference list if you use them in your body. So DOIs are digital object identifiers, and those are just numbers that they have given to articles to make it easier to find and manage. So you can use the DOIs if you can find the DOIs. They just go at the very end of your citation in your references page, and you'll just write DOI and you'll type it out. So you can look at section 6.31 in your APA book to find more information about that. This is what I was talking about. It'll look like this. For an online retrieval, you do not need to give me the date. So don't say retrieved on March 26, 2018 from, just put retrieved from. No date is needed anymore. And this is for online journal articles that you find, especially if you're using the NSU Library database. If you actually find the print copy of a journal article, you do not need to include this information. So this is really important as well. This is how you are going to cite your articles within your reference page. So this gives you an example. You're going to do your author's last name, comma, first initial, period, middle initial if they have it, period, space, parentheses, the year it was published, close parentheses, period. The title of the article is title case, which means that the first letter is capitalized, proper nouns are capitalized, and the first letter after a colon are capitalized as well. Everything else is going to be lowercase. The title of the periodical is actually different. It's going to be italicized, and it's going to be capitalized like we would typically think of as a title. So the first letter, all important words afterwards, that type of thing. Comma, your volume number will be italicized as well, followed by parentheses with the issue number, which is not italicized, close parentheses, and then you just write the page number span. So do not include P or PP or PG on this. You just write the page numbers like this. So here's an example of that. Oops, sorry. Move this down. Here's an example of that. So the author is J.C. Bean. The publication date is 1983. Here's the title of the article. Notice that computerized is the only word that is capitalized in the title of the article. The title of the periodical, however, is italicized and capital, all the important words, comma, here's the volume number, it's italicized, here's the issue number, it is not italicized, and these are the pages where you can find it. Notice there's no P or PG or PP there. So books, reports, brochures, so non-periodicals, are different. So you'll they start the same, but the title of the work is actually italicized. Prior to this, it was the publication that was italicized. The title is still sentence case. The first letter, proper nouns, and words after a colon are the only ones that are capitalized, period. The location of the publisher, colon, the publisher's name, period. So that's the way that will look. Here's an example of that. So W.E. Gall in 2006 wrote the book Educational Research. It was published in New York by Josie Bass Publishers, period. And here, there's an addition to the book, you would put after the title, parentheses, and inside the parentheses. And this is if you just use one chapter within the book. So you say which book it is in. So the title of the chapter right here is not italicized or capitalized in, and you'll do the books by the editors. So EDS is editors. The title of the whole book. Here you would put the pages of the chapter that you use, and you will include the PP, and then again the location and the publishers. Here's what you would do if it was a book with multiple authors. So there's all kinds of different things that you could use that are not periodicals or books, and you can use those if you would like to, as long as they're peer reviewed. But the main things that you'll be looking at are the articles and the books. So this information is in Blackboard, so you can use this. Refer back to it if you want to. Hopefully that helped. So let's go ahead and go back to the course. If you go into examples and informational documents, you will see the Lit Review assignment. Talks about what a Lit Review is. It is to provide an overview of the research that's already out there on a certain topic. So a literature review must do these things: be organized around and related directly to the thesis or research question you're developing. It has to synthesize the results, identify areas of controversy in literature, and formulate questions that need further research. So as you're going through these, you'll kind of see your research questions, and you do turn in your research questions before your literature review, but those research questions may be changed based on your literature review. So getting started, you've already done this. The first task is to narrow down a topic, and hopefully you have that done. This is how do I evaluate resources I found. You all started doing this with your annotated bibliography. So this is a 3-step process that you can go through. You can use this chart for every single article that you get. You do not have to use this. You do not have to turn this in. It's just for your benefit if you want to use it. So these questions, you're looking at the problem statement within the article. You can answer these questions. The research design, answer these questions, findings, and so then you can determine if it's a good article or not. So once you find your articles, what you're going to do is kind of separate them out into different topic areas within what you're writing. So all the articles, you can either do it by topic or you can do it by methodology. So just find your way that you would like to organize your articles for your literature review. And this is going to change a little bit because now you just have to get 7 to 10 articles. You're going to be adding articles to those in the second draft of your literature review. So this is just going to kind of be the basic structure, beginning, the framework of it, but it could change a little bit based on my feedback that I give you and your other articles that you find for your second draft. So first of all, you're going to do the introduction. Then you'll do the body. I'm going to let you go through this. Remember, you can find this on Blackboard under examples and information. Do the body, and then you will write a conclusion. And then we are going to be using APA, which I've been talking to you about that this whole time. So I also included a literature review example. This is what I wrote for my dissertation, actually. Anything in red is information for you. They're my notes for you. A thing I really wanted you to notice is the level headings, and those are talked about in one of the videos in Module 5. So you can read more about level headings, but I will show you here. So level headings are basically the bold that you will see in this, and I'll go through there. They are required for your literature review. I want you to have level headings. And that's just to help you with organization and to help me follow and understand what you're trying to say. Follow the APA level heading format that's in your APA manual. There should not just be a string of references. You should be synthesizing the articles. I've included some references at the bottom for an example for you, and then pay attention to all the little details within those. So this is a level 1 heading. You notice it's centered, bold, and the letters are all capitalized. So this is just my introduction, basically. I don't use the word introduction. I just go right into it. This is my next part. I'm beginning my review of the literature here. And so this is my level 2 heading. If you notice, it is not centered anymore. It's all the way left, justified. I have it's capitalized, and then I go ahead and hit enter, tab the next, and work on the next line. So this is talking about in general coup framework. And you can see within here my parenthetical citations. And then this is considered a level 3 heading. So within my literature review, within the coup framework, I'm going to be talking about cost. So if you notice, I indented, it's bold, it starts with a capital letter, has a period at the end, and then I start my words, my sentence right after that. So you don't, on this one I hit enter, on this one I did not hit enter. Here's some in-text citations. Notice I used and here. So cost goes through here. There's another level 3 heading, outcomes. Level 3 heading use. Level 3 heading perceptions. Then when I go back, I don't have to go all the way back to level 1. I went back to level 2 here because I'm still under my literature review, which is a level 1. So synthesis of research. Here's an example of using multiple articles, multiple resources within one parenthetical citation. Here's another one. This is a long one. I synthesized a lot here. Level 2, level 2, level 2, level 3. So that's saying within the literature review, within pedagogical differences when teaching special populations, I talk about instructional strategy. So that's level 3. Another level 3, and then I go back to level 2. Theoretical framework. Let's get all the way down here. And then here's my conclusion of this. So you can read that and kind of see what a conclusion might look like. And then this is references. This should actually be started on another page. The formatting is off here, but peer reviewed, no websites. You can use digital articles if you do. Use the website where you got it or the DOI. And this is for an article. This gives you an example of an article citation with the DOI. This is an example of a book. Notice the first proper nouns and the first letter after the colon are capitalized. The location and the publisher. And then here's another article. And here's an example of a chapter within a book. So you can see what that looks like as well. So hopefully this will help. I know this was a long video, but there was a lot of information I wanted to get to you prior to you working on your literature review. If you have been working on it, make sure you go back and check on all the things that I talked to you about to be aware of. So this will be the video that I make for spring break and then for week 3. So if you need any help with anything, you have any questions, I will be on the road during spring break, so I may not be able to get to you as quickly. There's some things that I'm having to take care of. So go ahead and email me, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, good luck on your literature review, and I hope that you're able to learn a lot about your topic. Have a great spring break.